Excuse me. I'm a couple minutes late, I think. Or, yeah, 3 minutes late. I just got back from the coffee shop, actually. But I was running a little late. Constance and I had to go to the store this morning, but it's a sunny day. It's a beautiful day, but very, very chilly. So I'm still bundled up from my walk. And today, while I'm doing my reference work for the book I'm working on all day and all night, uh, I ran across something very interesting. I've talked about this work by Crowley. Actually, it's an epic poem. It's hard to get people excited about epic poems nowadays. Uh, or even in the old days, I wasn't very excited about epic poems. And it's a huge, long poem like that between Marsyas, the master, and his student Olympus, uh, and it's a dialogue. It's so classic, and it's so Crowley. Okay, but it reveals pretty much the nature of consciousness as we know it uh, in relationship to one's personal initiatory journey uh, up the tree of life. Now, that is a absolutely perfect drawing of the tree of life. But somebody mentioned that I always have my graphics at hand. Uh, but uh, I was going over it today because I wanted to discuss something in particular that Crowley wrote in Aha. But instead, I I read over Regardie, Israel Regardie's introduction. And I'm not going to read that whole thing to you either. It's in this edition. It's an old Falcon Press edition. I'm going to read you a few words that I think you'll get a kick out of. But Crowley, in his sort of introduction, he doesn't call it an introduction. He calls it an augmentation, an argumentation. Uh, it's just like 1.5 pages. That's what I'm going to share because it summarizes the entire epic poem. Now that the poem itself is gorgeous, it's beautiful, it's lyrical, and it of course has words that uh, normal people aren't expected to know the meanings of, and that's what Regardie talks about in his little introduction. Uh, but I'm going to do that, and I'm going to read it in such a way that if you didn't care to read the entire epic poem, you'd know what Crowley was getting at with uh, the argumentation words that he has at the very first. So let me just briefly read what I got such a kick out of uh, from Regardie. Actually, the whole title of Aha is Aha, the Sevenfold Mystery of the Ineffable Love. The coming of the Lord in the air as King and Judge of this corrupted world, wherein under the form of a discourse between Marsyas, an adept, and Olympus, his pupil. The whole secret of the way of initiation is laid open from the beginning to the end. for the instruction of the little children of the light. Written in trembling and humility for the brethren of the AA by their very dutiful servant and aspirant to their sublime order, Aleister Crowley. So remember, this is written by Aleister Crowley. It's not a Class A document. It's not a Class B or C or D or E. It's by Aleister Crowley. But here's Regardie's words. I think he wrote this in 1969. To have chosen so unlikely a title as Aha for an almost epic poem about mysticism must require a strangely constituted mind. And this, of course, is supremely applicable to Aleister Crowley, an English poet born in Leamington in the year 1875. As a result of so many years of concentrated study of comparative religions, mythology, mysticism of every variety, and magical practices picked up in remote parts of the world, his mind had developed into a highly intricate mnemonic apparatus. One word or phrase would immediately serve as a trigger to set into operation a long chain of associations trailing obscurely into a lifelong collection of fascinating ideas. For the most part, they would stagger any newcomer to his innumerable writings. Amen. Certainly me at first. The word aha, capital H, all caps, A-H-A, exclamation point, had come to have innumerable meanings for him. Some were derived from Kabbalah, which he had studied through the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It has a gematria, or numerical value, of 7. Relates to the sphere of Venus on the tree of life and the element fire. On one tarot document of that order, 7s are described as showing a force transcending the material plane and is like unto a crown, which is indeed powerful, but requireth one capable of wearing it. Other associations have their origins in the Bible, of which he had long been a close student, especially the Revelation of John. This is indicated, for example, in the subtitle which Crowley chose for his poem, part of which follows, "The sevenfold mystery of the ineffable love, the coming of the Lord in the air as King and Judge of this corrupted world." The major pitfall where he became trapped was an assumption that the ordinary reader's mind would be equally informed, as was his, or that it would function similarly to his. Of course, this was hardly the case. I think it is with most of us who attempt to pick up the study of Crowley. Well, if you can imagine that Crowley sets a poetic scene where a student of the mysteries, or the student of initiation, comes to the master for instruction and guidance. And there's the obvious poetic exchanges. So, Master, this is I've come to the, well, don't do this, do this. And it's said in a poetical thing that as you read it, it becomes like a song. Okay. But there's a trajectory to the conversation. And that trajectory takes one from number 10 on the tree of life, past the veil of parakeet, oh, to the holy guardian angel, number 6, across the abyss, now to the supernal triad, and eventually to 1. Now, the second Zephyr right there is called wisdom. And this one, the third one, is called understanding. So it'll get to the point of where the discussion utilizes the term wisdom and understanding in such a way as to indicate those levels of consciousness that are approaching the dissolution of duality, or the consciousness of the singularity of existence. But here's the augmentation. I've got a bunch of notes written in the side where I try to understand the various Hindu words. Here's the argumentation. A little before dawn, the pupil comes to greet his master and begs instruction. Inspired by his angel, he demands the doctrine of being wrapped away into the knowledge and conversation of him. The master discloses the doctrine of passive attention and waiting. Start there, kid. This seeming hard to the pupil, it is explained further, and the method of resignation, constancy, and patience is inculcated. Then the paradox of equilibrium, little lessons, okay. The necessity of giving oneself wholly up to the new element. And then egoism rebuked. The master, to illustrate this destruction of the ego, describes the visions of dhyana. And dhyana is concentration, application of the mind to the chosen point of concentration. He further describes the defense of the soul against assailing thoughts and shows that the duality of consciousness is a blasphemy against the unity of God, so that even the thought called God is a denial of the God as he is in himself. The pupil sees nothing but a blank midnight in this emptying of the soul. He is shown that this is a necessary condition of illumination. Distinction is further made between these three dhyanas and those earlier visions in which things appear as objective. With these three dhyanas, moreover, are 4 other of the 4 elements, and many more. Now, you think he's going through a whole hell of a lot there, okay? Preparation, dhyana, idea of egoism and everything else. All of that was just to get to solidly on number 10. And you see how the number 10 there at the bottom is split up into 4 elements, 4 sections. That's the elemental thing he's talking about here. With these 3 dhyanas that get you to that point are 4 other of the 4 elements, and many more. Above these is the veil of Parokath. That's that veil there. Let's see. And its guardians. They talk about the guardians there. The rosy cross lies beyond the veil. Okay, that's the entire macrocosmic center of the tree of life. Second and third triads centered right there in number 6 at the Holy Guardian Angel. Oh, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The rosy cross lies beyond this veil. Therewith, the vision called Vishvaru Paradarshana. Are you familiar at all with the plot of the Bhagavad Gita? There's 2 big armies going, okay, and Arjuna is the general of one army, and both armies wanted Krishna to help. I'm digressing. Both armies wanted Krishna to be on their side, and Krishna, being just the biggest cosmic diplomat in the world, said, "Look, one of you can have my army, and the other one can have me." And Arjuna said, "I'll take you. Hop in my chariot." Okay. Well, anyway, it's a setup for a discussion like this between Arjuna, who is just one hell of an archer, and Krishna, his chariot driver. And at one point, when he's talking about what to do to be a good yogi, and it's just gorgeous. But there's at one point that Arjuna says, "Show me what you really look like. I want to see you as you are. I want to see the totality of your singularity." And Krishna says, "I'm not sure you want to do that. But eventually he says, "Okay, this is what I look like." Okay, and just billions of Krishnas, and Krishnas just fractalizing into infinity in one way, and that is the Vishvaru Paradarshana. Forgive my digression. The rosy cross lies beyond this veil, and therein the vision called Vishvaru Paradarshana. Moreover, there is knowledge and conversation of the Holy Guardian Angel. And just as an aside, Krishna, as associated with the heart chakra in Tiferet, is Holy Guardian Angel too. Next little section. The infinite number and varieties of these visions. There's our fractalization. Next, the impossibility of revealing all these truths to the outer and uninitiated world. Then the next one is the vision of the universal peacock, the Atmadarshana, which is the Atma. That would be the vision of the true self. Okay. The confusion of the mind and the perception of its self-contradiction. They discuss that next. The necessity to surmount reason, as reason has surmounted sense. The necessity to surmount reasons as reason has surmounted sense. The second veil, the abyss. See that section right there, how that is the ruach section of the one's personal tree of life, and that is the intellect, the reasoning, the sense, and that has to be surmounted. There's only one way to go. That's through that abyss and into the neshama, higher than reason. Reason is surmounted. The second veil, the abyss, the futility of speech. Okay, I digress again. The very first time I had a psychedelic experience, very first time I took acid, man, I was laying on the living room floor of Howard Hamilton's apartment, and my mind started to go so fast, but my thoughts took word forms. I was trying to understand my thoughts in language. And my language and my chain reaction of thoughts started to go faster and faster and faster and more all-encompassing in their potentiality of meaning, and faster until it whizzed in my head and I couldn't latch on to the words any longer. And I thought I was going to lose myself because I could no longer follow the description of what was going on. And I surrendered and said, I just let it go. And when I let it go, a whole new world opened up. A world that I didn't need to describe to myself. Does that make sense? Okay. A discussion as to the means by which vision arises in the pure soul is useless. Suffice it that in the impure soul, no vision will arise. The practical course is therefore to cleanse the soul. The next little section, the four powers of the Sphinx. Even adepts hardly attain to one of them. Next, the final destruction of ego, of the ego. The master confesses that he has lured the disciple by the promise of joy as the only thing comprehensible by him, although pain and joy are transcended even in the earlier visions. Ananda, bliss, and its opposite, mark the first steps of the path. Now this path, okay. Ultimately, all things are transcended. And even so, this attainment of peace is but a scaffolding to the palace of the king. Next, they discuss the sheaths of the soul. The abandonment of all is necessary. The adept recalls his own tortures, as all that he loved was torn away. Next comes the ordeal of the veil of the abyss. the unbinding of the false fabric of mind and its ruin. Then they discuss the distinction between philosophical credence and interior certitude. Samasati, the trance wherein the adept perceives his casual connection with the universe, past, present, and future. Next must come the mastering of reason. He becomes as a little child and invokes his holy guardian angel, the Ogeides. Crowley uses that word a lot, especially in the equinox and the Temple of Solomon the King. Ogeides is how I'm pronouncing it. Augoeides. Atma Darshana, and we know our Atma Darshana is that vision of the true self. Atma Darshana arising is destroyed by the opening of the eye of Shiva, the annihilation of the universe. The adept is destroyed, and he arises as the master of the temple. Now, even in Golden Dawn lingo, number 4 on the Tree of Life is adeptus exemptus. So that's okay. Even that is destroyed when he becomes the master of the temple by awakening to number 3. The pupil is struck with awe, proclaims his devotion to the master, whereat the latter bids him rather unite himself with the Ogeides. Yet, following the great annihilation, the adept reappears as an angel to instruct men this doctrine. Then the majesty of the master is described. The pupil, wonderstruck, swears to attain and asks for further instruction. The master describes the 8 limbs of yoga. The pupil, lamenting the difficulty of attainment, the master shows forth the sweetness of the hermit's life. One doubt remains. Will not the world be able instantly to recognize the saint? The master replies that only imperfect saints reveal themselves as such. Of these are the cranks and charlatans, and those that fear and deny life. But let us fix our thoughts on love, and not on the failings of others. The master invokes the Ogeides. The pupil, through sympathy, is almost rapt away. The Ogeides hath given the master a message, namely to manifest the new way of the equinox of Horus, as revealed in Liber Legis. He does so, and reconciles with the old way by inviting the test of experiment. They would go, therefore, to the desert or the mountains, nay, here and now shall it be accomplished. Peace to all things. Now, if I were to suggest a formalized study of aha, I would take the sections of that argumentation and place them as headers within the versified texts to kind of help you understand what at least Crowley was thinking he was trying to get across with each one of those verses. Anyway, that's it for today. I'm going to pack up my computer. I'm going to go to the living room. I'm going to turn on the little heater. I'm going to put a blue blanket on me. I'm going to set the computer on my lap, and I'm going to work on the book, because I got all day to do that. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.